Welcome back to the second part of this lesson. We built a complete coffee shop website from scratch with 3 pages, a proper design system, optimized images, and we deployed everything to Vercel. Now in this lesson, we are going to take it to the next level by adding an AI chatbot that customers can use to ask questions about the menu and reservation system where they can book a table directly from the website. Now to build our AI chatbot, we are going to use a platform called N8N. It's a really powerful automation platform that makes it easy to build chatbots, AI agents, automations, a lot of cool stuff, and connect everything to all sorts of services. Now, N8N does have a cloud version that starts at around 24 euros per month, which is not exactly cheap. But the good news is you can self-host N8N for a lot less. You can install N8N on your own virtual private server. And the way I do it is with a service called Hostinger. I've been using Hostinger for my N8N instances, and it's been really reliable. So let me quickly show you how to set this up. I'm going to leave a link in the resources section of this lesson, and you will land on this page. By using this link, you will get an extra 20% discount. What we want to do is look at the VPS plans. I recommend going with the KVM2 plan. Using Hostinger is really easy to install N8N and to self-host it, and you can save a lot of money compared to the official subscription because Hostinger offers one-click deploy template. The important thing is when you are going through the setup, make sure you select N8N as the application you want to install. I recommend using this template because you will get 100 workflows extra for free. Alright, so let's confirm. And before you check out, you can use my code N8N Damien to get an extra discount on the price. I've got quite a few N8N instances with Hostinger, so I'm not going to set up a new one. But when you click continue and go through the payment settings, it will take just a few minutes to set up your N8N instance. Now, once Hostinger has finished setting up your instance, which only takes a few minutes, you can go to your dashboard and click on VPS. All right, as you can see, my instance is running. So this is the status of my instance. And you can click on Manage. Here you can see all the details. And in order to log into your instance, you need to click on Manage App. Now, when you click on Manage App for the first time, it's going to ask you to create your N8N account on your VPS. So it will ask you some basic questions like your name and your email address. So just fill in the form and it will send you a free license key to your email. So just check your inbox, you will get an email to approve and it should set up your license automatically. Or you can copy that license key from the email, go to Settings, in the bottom left corner, then Personal, Usage and Plan, and you can enter activation key. So just paste in your key and click Activate. And that's it, your N8N instance will be ready to go. Now, let's create a new workflow. Because we want to build our AI chatbot to embed it to our coffee shop website. So let's create a new workflow by clicking on this button. Now this is our canvas. When we build AI agents, automations, AI chatbots, assistants, and so on. And for the first node, so for the first step, so the component, the trigger of our automation, we want to select message trigger. All right, so let's add first step. And let's select the on-chat message trigger, which runs the flow when a user sends a chat message for use with AI nodes. All right, and let's make sure make chat publicly available is toggled on. And for the mode, let's change it to embedded chat, because we want to chat with our agent, with our chatbot, through a widget embedded in another page, so in our coffee shop website. And we can see this message that says to follow the instructions to embed the chat in a web page. We'll come back to that in a minute. Now, there is an important option called authentication. What we want to do, we want to add field and click on Load Origins. As you can see, at the moment it's set to a star, which means any website can use this chatbot. And for a real project, you'd want to change this to only allow your actual domain. So let's clear this and type in our Vercel domain. All right, so let's go back to Vercel. And I want to copy my domain generated by Vercel. And paste it right here. As you can see, comma-separated list of URLs allowed. And if you've got a custom domain, like, Brew and Co. without Vercel app, because you bought one, or you've got a different domain, so your own proper domain, you would put that in here instead. And this way, only your website can use the chatbot, and nobody else can embed it on their site. Now, if you are still testing and you don't have a custom domain yet, you can either leave it as a star for now, or just use the URL that Vercel generated for you, as I did. You can always come back and change this later, once you've got your final domain set up. Now what we need to do, we need to actually add our AI agent. So let's close it for now. So this node, this component is already configured. Now let's add another component, another agent, another node. So you can click on this plus button. You can either type agent or just click on AI and select AI agent. And in order to add the prompt for our agent, so the system message, let's add option and click system message. You can also switch over to expression mode and expand it. Now, for the system message, let's type something like, "You are a friendly and helpful assistant for a coffee shop called Brew & Co. This is a cozy neighborhood coffee shop in London that specializes in specialty coffee, fresh pastries, and light lunches. They also host open mic nights on Fridays and coffee tasting sessions on Saturday mornings." And now we need to assign a chat model, all right? So we need to give intelligence for our agent. So we need to connect some LLM. So you can click here on the chat model option. And you will see that N8N supports pretty much every provider out there. So OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and many more. I'm going to go with OpenRouter, all right? Because it's basically a unified platform that gives us access to a whole bunch of different models through just one account. One day, so for example, if you want to use OpenAI models one day and then switch to Anthropic models the next day, you can do all of that with a single OpenRouter account. So you don't need to create a separate account for each provider. So let's click on that. And now let's visit OpenRouter website. So this is how the website looks like. As you can see, the unified interface for LLMs. You can sign up and create your account. I'm just going to log in. Now you will need to add some credits. So just go to the billing section on this website and add a few dollars. So just click on your profile in the top right corner, click on credits, and you can add some credits, all right? You can top up your account. You can even add $5 and it will last you a really long time for what you are doing, all right? So now I'm going to top up my account. And now let's go back to N8N and let's connect our N8N account to our OpenRouter account, all right? So let's set up credential. And we need to paste API key. So let's generate one. So now open Rate, let's go to API keys section, and let's create a new API key. Let's call it assistant, and click create. Let's copy it and paste it right here. Then let's hit save. Yeah, so paste it into this field and hit save. And now connection tested successfully. So we connected our N8N account to OpenRouter account. Perfect. So everything was done correctly. We should see a green success message. Now for the model, I will select, we can leave GPT 4.1 mini. It's very cheap and very affordable and very fast. So it's perfect for a chatbot like this. Let's also add a memory node so the chatbot can remember what we said earlier in the conversation. So we'll just add a simple memory node, all right? So this one, which stores in N8N memory, so no credentials are required. So we're not going to connect it to any persistent memory, such as Postgres. We are going to use a simple memory, and we'll set it to recall the last 20 messages, let's say. And because without this, the chatbot would forget everything after each message. So you could tell it your name. For example, your name is Damien, and then 2 messages later, it would have no idea who you are. So the memory node fixes that by keeping track of the recent conversation history. All right, so now let's actually publish our workflow. We can publish our workflow, our AI agent, AI assistant, just by clicking on this button, publish. Publish, got it, perfect. And we can test it by clicking on this open chat button and saying, hi. Hello, welcome to Brew & Co. How can I help you today? Looking for a coffee recommendation, details about our events, or something else? So as you can see, our chatbot is working. Now let's ask maybe, what events do you have coming up? And it's able to tell us about the open mic nights and the coffee tasting sessions, all right? Based on what we put in the system prompt. So that's looking good. Now let's actually embed this chatbot into our website, because that's the goal. So if you click on the chat message node, there is a link to the documentation on embedding N8N chatbots into website. All right. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to copy this link. Then back in Cloud Code, let's say I want to embed an N8N chatbot into our website. Here is the documentation on how to do it. And let's paste this URL to the documentation on how to embed N8N chatbots to websites. And also I want to copy this chat URL. All right, this is very important. This is the webhook URL for our chatbot. So let's copy that as well. And let's say, here is the webhook URL for our chatbot. And paste the webhook URL. So let's paste both of those, and let's hit enter. So Cloud is going to read through the documentation and add the chatbot to our website. So let's give it some time. Let's confirm. Let's approve. Good, I have the full docs. Now let me check the layout before writing the component. I will create a client component for the chat widget, style it to match Brew & Co brand, and add it to the layout. All right, now add it to the layout so it appears on every page. Now add CSS, all right, to brand the widget to match this brand, so our brand, Brew & Co. Now let me verify that dev server picks up the changes cleanly. All right, all compiling cleanly that the chat widget is live at. All right, let's have a look. You'll see an orange chat bubble in the bottom right corner on every page. Let's check. So let's check. All right, we've got an arrow. Let's copy this arrow. You can either copy an arrow or take a screenshot. I'm going to take a screenshot. And just paste it into the cloud code and hit enter. And let's fix it. All right, the fix is to remove the CSS import from the component and load it via. All right. Let's let cloud do its magic. All right, compiling clean. Let's have a look. All right. So you should see a little chat bubble in the corner. But as you can see, it's not working properly. All right. Because I can't paste anything. I can't type anything. And also we've got one Node.js issue right here. So I'm going to copy all of this and paste it right here. Also, I'm going to take the screenshot of the chat widget and paste it as well. And we can say something like, please fix those issues. I'm not able to type anything in the chat window. Also, the chatbot widget, the styling doesn't match the rest of the website. Please use the Design Enforcer sub-agent to update the chatbot styling to match our design system. And let's send that. So the main agent should call our Design Enforcer agent. Let's approve. Let's read the screenshot. As you can see, the main agent is going to call our Design Enforcer in parallel to sort the styling. Because Design Enforcer has access to all of our design documents. All right, so cloud code finished or clean. Two things were fixed. Let's verify. And to be honest, in my opinion, chat window still doesn't match the rest of the site. So let's take another screenshot. And let's paste it into the cloud and say the style still doesn't match the website. Please make it beautiful. But at least we are able to type something. All right, so Cloud is fixing the styling issue. I'm going to give it some time. All right, all clean. The chat widget should now show. All right. All right, it's much better now. Perfect. Now the chat window matches the rest of the site. So the colors, the fonts, the overall feel, it all looks like it belongs to this website. So that looks much better. Now at the moment, our chatbot doesn't actually know anything about our menu or our business beyond what we put in the system prompt. But the system prompt, is very basic. There is nothing about products, menu, and so on. So, for example, if I ask how much is a flat white, we actually got an error. So we discovered another issue. Let's take a screenshot and paste it into Cloud Code. Let's also check executions in our workflow. All right. So it seems that our chatbot is not properly connected to our website, so to our chat window on our website. But I forgot that we have to add, this localhost URL for local testing in order to be able to test it, right? Because without this, the webhook will reject requests from my site. So I'm going to copy this URL and I'm going to add it here after comma and republish the workflow. And let's refresh our website and let's ask the same question. So how much is a flat white? And we are still getting this error when we try to send a message. And there is also that Next.js error in the bottom left corner again. So now this is one of those things that can happen when you're connecting external services to your website. Works perfectly inside N8N. We tested it. But something is going wrong with the connection from our website. So let's go back to Cloud Code and give it all the details so it can figure out what's going on. So I'm going to just copy this message again and also all of this. And I'm going to say the N8N chatbot is showing up on the website, but when I send a message, I get this error. The chatbot works perfectly when I test it directly inside N8N. Please fix it. Also, please check and fix the Next.js error that's showing in the bottom left corner of the page. And this is a really good example of troubleshooting and of how you debug issues with Cloud Code. You just describe what's working, what's not working, and you give it as much information as you can. Ideally, some screenshots as well. So Cloud will figure out the rest for you. Let's have a look now. Perfect. Now it's working as expected. So let's move on. Sometimes you would need to copy the documentation from N8N again and paste it to Cloud Code. Sometimes you would need to ask Cloud Code to do some research. So it really depends on the issue you are facing. But Cloud Code will do 99% of the job for you anyway. Yes, the chatbot gives us a price for the flat white, but this price is not coming from our actual menu. At the moment, our chatbot doesn't actually know anything about our menu beyond what we put in the system prompt. But as you can see, we don't have any information about prices, right? So what it's doing is just guessing based on the general knowledge of the GPT model. And we are using GPT 4.1 mini, and we are using GPT 4.1 mini, I think, which is a smaller model. So it's even more likely to make things up. Now we could add something to the system prompt telling it to not guess prices, but the real fix is to connect it to a proper knowledge base with our actual money data. Because right now, the chatbot is giving our customers wrong information, which is obviously not what we want. So let's fix that by giving it access to a proper knowledge base. Now, N8N is a really powerful and comprehensive automation platform. You can connect all sorts of tools and databases to it. Things like vector databases like Pinecone or Supabase, document stores, APIs, and so much more. And if you want to learn all of that in depth, you have actually got a complete N8N masterclass course that covers everything from beginner to advanced. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. But in this lesson, I'm going to show you the simplest and easiest way to give your chatbot a knowledge base. And for most small business websites, this approach is going to be more than enough. So back in our N8N dashboard, let's go to data tables. You can find data tables right here. And let's create a new data table. I will call this one brew and co. And now we need to upload our menu CSV file to N8N. And we have already got this file in our project. It's menu items.csv file in the docs folder. All right. So what I'm going to do is right click on this file in Visual Studio Code and click on Reveal in Finder. And now I know exactly where this file is on my machine, so I can upload it to N8N. And we can import data from a file. I'm just going to make a copy of it and paste it on my desktop. And we can import from file. All right, so let's import CSV. And let's upload the file of our menu items. So open. So we created this file of our menu items area. So let's upload this file. It's going to ask us if the file has a header row. And yes, it does. So let's confirm that and let's click create. And I got this error. It's related to formatting issues. Some descriptions, it seems that some descriptions contain commas, which break the CSV format. So let's copy this, paste it to Cloud Code, and let's say I'm trying to import the menu items CSV file to N8N as data table, but it seems that file has formatting issues. I exported it from our code base, from this project. Some descriptions contain commas which probably break the CSV format. So please fix the CSV file. All right, fixed. Here are all the lines that had comma contain descriptions and needed quoting. All right, so I'm going to copy it again. Just paste it on my desktop. Let's try again. All right, perfect. Menu items CSV file has been uploaded successfully. We found 5 columns and 22 rows. So N8N has picked up all of the columns from our CSV file automatically. And we can see category, the item name, the description, the price, and the batch. And all of our menu items are right there in this table. So let's create. And we can see all of the espresso drinks, the pastries, and so on. So it's going to be the knowledge base that our chatbot uses to answer questions about the menu. All right, now, while we are here, let's create one more data table for our reservations. So let's click on the home page, data tables, and create a new data table. And I will call this one brew and co reservations. This time we are going to create it from scratch because we don't have any data to import yet. So click create. So let's add our first column and call it guest name. And this will be a text field. All right. So we can leave string. Click add column. Then let's add another column called group size. And for the type, let's select number. And one more column called booking time. Booking time. And for the type, let's select date and time. Perfect. We can see our 3 columns right there. So now we've got a database for our menu items, and a database for storing reservations. And we didn't have to set up any servers or databases ourselves because N8N just handles all of that for us. Now let's go back to our chatbot workflow and connect these data tables. So what we need to do is add tools that the agent can use. So let's click on the plus button to add a new tool. Let's search for data tables. Data table tool, which permanently saves data across workflow executions in a table. It's also a recommended option. Now for this one, we want to change the operation to get, all right? And let's select our brew and co menu data table, which is this one. We can also change the name and add menu. And I'm going to let the agent decide which records to return based on the user's question. All right. Let's also rename this node. So let's call it get menu data, and hit enter. And now let's add another data table. Data table. So we're going to data table tool for creating reservations. So it's the same process. We need to add a new tool. This time the operation is insert, and you select our brew and co reservations table. Now, as you can see, all the columns popped up. And for the values, we'll let the AI figure out how to populate the fields based on what the user tells it. Right? Let the model define this parameter for all of them, for all of the columns. And let's rename this node to create reservations and hit enter. Now let's actually add a bit more detail to the system prompt so the agent knows about these tools and know how to use them. So let's add something like you have access to two tools. If the user asks about the menu or any items on it, use the menu items tool to look up the information. If the user wants to make a reservation, you need to collect their guest name, the group size, and the booking time before creating it. Don't create a reservation until you have all of that information. All right, perfect. Now let's save and publish our workflow. So I'm gonna click publish, confirm. And now let's test it properly on the actual website. So I'm going to refresh our website. So let's open up the chatbot and ask something like, do you have any pastries? All right, perfect. Look at that. The agent actually reached out to the knowledge base and is giving us real menu items with prices. So it's telling us about the all available pastries. All right. So whatever we've got in our CSV file, and this information is coming directly from the data table we set up, not from the system prompt. And that's exactly what we wanted. We can also confirm that by going to executions and see that the agent used this data table to get menu data. All right. Let's try something else. Let's ask how much is a flat white? Let's see. So the agent is looking it up and giving us the actual price from our menu. So the knowledge base is working perfectly. And now let's actually try making a reservation. So I will say I would like to reserve a table for 3 people on Saturday at 2 p.m. And the agent is asking for our name, which makes sense because we told it in the system prompt to collect all the information before making the reservation. So let's say Damien. All right, we are getting an error. It says error in workflow. So something went wrong. Let's go back to N8N and check what happened. If you go to executions, you can see the failed execution right there. And you can see the error is in the create reservations node. And it says invalid input for booking time. And the reason for this is that the agent sent the date in a format like Saturday at 2 p.m., but the data table expects it in a proper date format. So the data table doesn't know how to interpret Saturday at 2 p.m. as a date. And it's actually a really common issue when working with AI agents and databases because the agent speaks in natural language, but the database needs structured data. So the fix is really simple. We can either go to our data table and change the type of the booking time column to text, or the better option, more production ready, is go to our agent, go back to our system prompt, and add something like, when creating a reservation, always format the booking time as an ISO date string, for example, and we are providing the actual format. Let's publish. So let's save our workflow and publish it, republish. All right. Let's test our agent again. I'm just going to copy my prompt, my query, and paste it right here. Yes. Yes, that's actually true. Let's say this coming Saturday. All right, your table for 3 people is booked for this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. under the name Damien. Perfect. As you can see, the agent confirms the reservation has been made. Now, if we go back to N8N and check our reservations data table, we should see the entry right there. So Damien, 3 people Saturday at 2 p.m. But as you can see, booking time is incorrect. It's 2024. That's why we need to pass the actual date and time, the current date and time, to our agent. So let's fix it. We can do that by going to our system prompt and just open two curly braces and select now, which uses the workflow's time zone. All right. So this is the date time representing the current moment. Perfect. Let's also type the current date and time is. Basically, what this does is it automatically injects the current date and time into the prompt every time the workflow runs. So now the agent always knows exactly what the date is and can correctly figure out which Saturday the customer is talking about. And the reason we need this is because large language models have a training cutoff date. So without this expression, the agent might think it's still 2024 or whenever its training data ended. So by injecting the real date, the agent always work with the correct date and can calculate things like this Saturday or next Friday properly. So now let's publish. And I'm going to try again. Just refresh the page. Let's say on Friday. Damien. Alright, let's have a look. As you can see now, booking time is correct. Now the agent confirms the reservation has been made. The agent confirms the reservation has been made. So it's working perfectly. Now there is one more thing I want to hook up. On our website, we've got that reserve a table button that opens a form. At the moment, this form doesn't actually do anything when you submit it, but we can connect it to N8N. So when someone fills out the form, the reservation gets added to our database automatically. And this same approach works for any kind of form: contact forms, booking forms, lead capture forms. So the concept is exactly the same. So let's go back to N8N. Let's create a new workflow. All right. How you call this one? Make reservations brew and co. All right. Now for the trigger node, let's select on webhook call. And what a webhook does is it basically creates a URL that our website can send data to. So when someone fills out the reservation form on our website, the form will send the data to this webhook URL, and N8N will process it. So let's change the method to post. And let's change the path to make reservation. Now, we want to build a production-ready project, right? So we definitely want to set up authentication on this webhook so that only your website can send data to it. So let me quickly show you how to do that. In the webhook node, let's click on authentication and select header. Then we need to set a name and value. So the name will be something like X webhook secret, and the value can be any random string that we'll use as our secret key. All right. And I'm going to type brew dash and dash co dash secret dash 2026. And now copy that value because we are going to need it on the website side as well. So when we tell Cloud Code to connect the form to this webhook, we'll include this secret in the API route so that every request from our website includes this header. And N8N will reject any request that doesn't have the correct secret. This way, even if someone finds the webhook URL, they can't use it without knowing the secret. Now let's save it. Now here is something really important to understand. N8N gives us two URLs for this webhook: a test URL and a production URL. And the test URL only works when we are actively listening for data in the N8N editor. So it's just for testing. The production URL works all the time as long as the workflow is published. So we're going to start with the test URL to make sure everything is working, and then swap it to the production URL once we are happy. So let's copy the test URL for this webhook, and then back in Cloud Code, let's say we need to hook up the reserve a table form on our website. When someone submits the form, it should send the data to this N8N webhook endpoint. The webhook expects a guest name, group size, and booking time. Don't call the webhook directly from the front end. Create a backend API route in Next.js that calls the webhook securely from the server side. The webhook requires a header called x-webhook-secret with the value brew-and-co-secret-2026. And let's paste in the webhook URL. Now, the reason I'm asking Cloud to create a backend API route instead of calling the webhook directly from the browser is because we don't want to expose our webhook URL in the front-end code. So if someone looked at the source code of our website, they could find that URL and start sending fake reservations to it. By calling it from the server side, the URL stays hidden and secure. Let's send that. And Cloud is going to create the API route and connect the form to it. Alright, so Cloud code is cooking now. All clean. Here is what was built. So this file stores the secret as reservation webhook secret. It's already git ignored, so it will never be committed. Perfect. Now the form is now fully wired. So now let's actually test it. So we'll go back to N8N and click the listen button on our webhook node. So it's actively waiting for data. Then on our website, let's fill in. So the name, party size, preferred date, and time. All right. Reserve my table, confirm. All right, something went wrong. Please try again. Let's take a screenshot and paste it into Cloud Code and send that. All right, two fixes made. Let's try again. Let's actually publish our webhook and use production URL right away. So I'm going to publish it. And copy the production URL. This is a production URL. Let's wait a moment. All right, give it another try on site. Let's actually refresh our page, our website. Let's test it. So the name, party size 3 people, preferred date, and the time. All right, still something's wrong. Still the same issue. The workflow with webhook is published. All right, it seems that the issue is with maybe I did a typo. So please check the exact value configured in your N8N webhook node and let me know the correct value. It's likely a small typo. Yeah. So I'm going to change the value. Just simply brew dash and co and hit save. The secret is brew dash and co. All right. Oh yeah, perfect. You are booked in. You have reserved your spot. We'll see you soon. And now if you go back to N8N, we can see the webhook was indeed triggered. And we can see all of the data that was sent. So the guest name, group size, and booking time. So the connection between our website and N8N is working perfectly. Now all we need to do is take that incoming data and insert it into our reservation table. So let's add a new node in editor after the webhook. And let's search for data table and select it. And let's select the operation to insert, all right? Because we want to insert row. And let's select our brew and co reservations table. Now we need to map the values from the webhook data to the right columns in our data table. But the problem is we don't have any test data in this node yet, so we can't see the fields to map them. And if you click listen for test event on the webhook node and then submit a reservation on our website, it won't pick up the data. And the reason for that is the webhook has two different URLs, as I said. Let's stop it. Yes, the webhook has two different URLs, a test URL and production URL. So our website is currently using the production URL, but the listen for test event button only listens on the test URL. So the data goes through, but the editor doesn't see it. So what we need to do is temporarily switch our website to use the test URL. So let's copy the test URL from the webhook node, then go back to Cloud Code, and let's say, please temporarily update the webhook URL in our API route to use this test URL instead of the production one, because the form on the website doesn't send data, because I want to test the webhook to be able to map values. I'm going to paste this test URL and send that. And now let's go back to N8N and click listen for test event on the webhook node, then on our website. Let's submit a reservation. All right, perfect. And now you can see the data has come through in the webhook node. You can see the guest name, the group size, and booking time. All the fields right here in this table. We can also switch over to schema view or JSON view. But the table view is the easiest to see everything. So now we can map these values to our data table columns. So you can simply drag the guest name like that and drop it into this field. So from the left side into the right field. Let's do the same thing for the group size. Drag and drop. and the booking time. And now we've got dynamic variables. And now let's test this node to make sure it works. And we are getting this error again. So invalid input for booking time. As you can see, the date is coming through in this format, but the data table expects it in a proper ISO format. When I open it, I can see this is the format we got. Now, instead of going back to Cloud Code and changing the form so it sends the date in ISO format, let's just fix this in N8N. So in the mapping for booking time, switch over to expression mode, expand it, and let's copy this expression and go to Cloud Code. And let's ask it to convert this into the proper ISO format for us. So let's say something like this N8N expression. Let's paste the expression. Gives me a date in a standard format, but I need this expression that converts this into ISO format for a data table. So give me just the expression, nothing else. All right, now you can just copy it. Paste it right here. And now, when you execute step, node has been executed successfully. So Cloud gives us the expression back. And here we go. This time it went through without any errors. So we've got our table populated. Now let's check our reservations table. We can see the test reservation. Now let's switch back to the production URL. Now let's go back to our workflow. I'm just going to publish it. And now let's switch back to the production URL. So back in Cloud Code, let's say, please switch the webhook URL back to the production one. All right, done. Back on the production URL. Perfect. Now our reservation form is now fully connected. So every time someone fills out the form on our website, the reservation will automatically appear in our N8N data table. Now let's do one final commit and deploy. You can do this using whichever method you prefer, through Visual Studio Code, the terminal, or a pull request on GitHub. Let's ask Cloud Code to do it for us. And let's say, please commit all the changes on the dev branch with the message, add AI assistant and reservations, and push to GitHub. Let's approve. Done, committed and pushed to dev on GitHub. 9 files changed, including the N8N chat widget. All right. And once that pushed, let's merge it into the main so it goes live. So let's say, please switch to main, merge the dev branch in, and push to main. And because Vercel is watching out main branch, these changes are going to be automatically deployed. Perfect. Now when we check our GitHub account, we can see that the code pushed, but the Vercel deployment has failed. All right, so we can just take the screenshot of this error and paste it into Cloud Code. Let's approve. Yes, I need to authorize device, so I'm going to allow. Perfect. Let's Cloud Code fix the issue. Let's approve. All right. Pushed, Vercel now retrigger a deployment with the TypeScript error fixed. One more thing to do is on your end. We need to add this variable to our Vercel project's environment variables, all right? Otherwise, the reservation form will fail in production. So what we need to do, we need to go to our Vercel account, and this is because our .env file, which stores environment variables, with the webhook secret, is not pushed to GitHub because it's in our gitignore, so this file, for security. And Vercel doesn't have access to it, so we need to add it manually in Vercel. So let's go to our Vercel dashboard. Let's go to our Vercel dashboard, click on our project, then go to Settings, Environment Variables, and we need to add a new variable called Reservation Webhook Secret. All right, so the same name as we've got in this file. So I can just copy it. Add environment variable, which is our key, and as a value, we need to paste in our secret, which is this, Brew & Co. All right, and hit save. And now Vercel knows the secret, and the reservation form will work in production. So we can either click redeploy or let no cloud. Done. All right, perfect. Let's click redeploy. Confirm. View deployment. As you can see, the status is building. It takes a few minutes. Of course, we just need to do it once. All right, let's take a screenshot. And Cloud Code will fix it for us. As you can see, this is still the old deployment from the previous commit. All right, before Cloud Code fixed TypeScript issue. So it hasn't triggered. So let's hit redeploy, and it should pick up the latest commit with the fix. Yes, sometimes you might run into a situation where Vercel doesn't pick up your latest changes automatically. If that happens, don't worry. You can just go to Cloud Code and ask it to push an empty commit to force a new deployment, or you can just do it yourself. And that's exactly what we are doing here. So Cloud is pushing a fresh commit, and Vercel triggered a new build. As you can see, let me push an empty commit to force a new deployment. Pushed, Vercel should now trigger a fresh build from the correct code. And now it's working perfectly. And within a minute or so, if we visit our public URL, we should see the complete website with the chatbot and the working reservation form. So everything is working as expected now. Excellent. We've got a complete professional coffee shop website with a beautiful design, optimized images, an AI assistant that can answer questions about the menu and take reservations, and a reservation form that fits into a real database. And the whole thing is live on the internet for anyone to visit. Now just think about what you have accomplished and how long it would have taken to build something like this even just a couple of years ago. You would have needed a web designer, a front-end developer, probably a back-end developer, someone to set up the database, and maybe even someone to build the chatbot integration for you. That's weeks of work, and even thousands of dollars. And you just did the whole thing in 2 lessons using Cloud Code, a few skills, some sub-agents, and N8N. And this is exactly the kind of project you could build for a local business. Every coffee shop, restaurant, gym, and salon out there needs a website like this, and now you know how to build one from start to finish. So congratulations, you have learned a lot in these 2 lessons. You know how to plan and build a full website with Cloud Code, how to create a design system, how to optimize images with custom skills, how to deploy to Vercel, and how to connect everything to an AI assistant and real database with N8N. That's a seriously powerful set of skills to have. I hope you enjoyed building this, and I will see you next time.